All right, so much art history and never enough time to cover it all. So let's go run through the art museum. We are still in chapter 26, and I want to talk about swings. So in this painting, do you see the person on the swing? Where? Right, in the upper left, correct? All right, so swings is a popular leisure activity between couples of the 18th century. That's the 1700s. The swing is a metaphor for sex. So you think about being on a swing, and so in these, the way that the swings work, then there's a rope tied to it. One person sits on the swing, and the other one pulls the rope back and forth. And so usually the girl sits on the swing, and then the guy pulls the rope, and it goes back and forth. So that back and forth motion, the up and down motion, the guy being in control, and then legs being up in the air. It's all a metaphor for sex. All right, and it was a very popular image in the Rococo era. Remember how, like in the Renaissance era, a popular image would have been like Madonna and Child, and David, and all these other images from the Bible, and same with the Baroque era. But here it's the Rococo. I want to emphasize again one uh, uh, characteristic of Baroque is themes of love and being romantic. This is going to be very different than the romanticism we'll see later, but themes of love and couples being together and the high life. These are all aristocrats. These are not people that need to work in the fields all day long because they have leisure time. All right, so we're going to take a look at The Swing by Fragonard, this painting right here in the center. This is one of those very famous paintings. Look at that woman there in the room there. She's got running shoes on. I mean, she's running through the art museum. See? All right. Have you ever seen this painting before? Yeah, it's one of those popular images. So, all right. So we have this woman in a swing. Where is the guy that's pulling the swing? He's not in the bush. Right, he's behind her. Yes, he is holding on to the rope that is attached to the swing, and he's the one that is swinging her back and forth. All right, and then you notice the guy in the bushes. So we have this almost like a love triangle right here. The guy that is swinging her. Um, Oh, we'll talk about him in a second. We got these two guys, we got the woman, and we got a couple of sculptures. And I do want to point out the dog. Can you find the dog in this picture? We got a dog down here. I know. Even Chase has to look up close. So, all right. Now, the story behind this commission is that, by the way, this is a very distasteful painting. It's a very crude painting. It's one of my favorite paintings, but it's in poor taste. All right. So a guy wants to commission an artist to paint this picture. So he approaches one artist, describes what he wants, says, I want a girl in a swing. And then the guy is swinging her from behind. And then we have another guy in the bushes looking up at the girl. All right. And the first artist says, no, that's too vulgar. I don't paint stuff like that. You should try Fragonard. So he goes to Fragonard, and Fragonard says, yeah, I'll paint that for you. So Fragonard was more interested in collecting a paycheck than he was in having a moral standing. So the guy that's in the bushes, do you think the guy that's swinging the girl can see the guy in the bushes? No, he's hidden in the bushes. And so I think that there's some sort of they agreed to meet up here. And so she says, you hide in the bushes, I'll swing in the swing, and then we can make eye contact and stuff like that. All right. If you look at where the man is looking, and what can he see? Yeah, he can see all of it, right? He can see right up that skirt, right? And she's kicking her legs to give him a view. And she's also kicking her shoe off to him, acknowledging him. All right. And the guy behind her is completely oblivious. All right. I want to talk about the sculptures in here because the sculptures give a clue as to what is going on and how we should feel about things. So the sculpture that is on the far left is called Menacing Cupid. And so what is that sculpture doing? Right, he's shushing, right? He's saying, don't say anything. This is a secret. All right. And then the sculptures on the far right, these are two putti, and they are on a dolphin. And so putti are always around when there's love in the air. And then the dolphins are also a sign of love. Uh, Dolphins are Jupiter's agents of love. He sends them out to capture beautiful maidens and bring them back. Now, does that look like a dolphin to you? Yeah, that's a pretty weird looking dolphin, but that's how dolphins were conceived of in these times. And then we got the guy in the back. Is he the husband of the woman? Is he maybe a suitor? He's wants to marry her. Is that a father? Is that an uncle? Is that a priest? Is that a chaperone? Completely oblivious. And then you can see the dog at the bottom of this photo. Now, a dog in artwork is a symbol of loyalty. All right. Is there loyalty going on in this painting? Absolutely not. All right. And then the dog is barking in this. And a barking dog is often a symbol of the dog will always bark at the bad guy in the picture. And so the dog is barking at what is going on. He's barking at the woman and the guy. Now, one of the things that makes this such a great composition is this warm color against a cool color background. The pink, this salmony kind of color, it's like an orangey pink, is a warm color, and then it's surrounded by the cool color. That makes it really pop out and get our attention. So when I took my 18th century class in 18th century art class, I read a review of this painting from an art critic at the time. And I just love what it says here. It says, by the way, this art critic hated this picture. He says, the satin fabric she wears makes a big luminous blot in an otherwise gloomy picture. I love that quote. All right. Again, she's kicking off her shoe to acknowledge him. He is getting quite a view, but look at his pose. Have you seen a pose like that before in art history? Yeah, I heard somebody say it, Michelangelo. Yeah. So it is a reference to Michelangelo's Birth of Adam. Now, in the Michelangelo's Birth of Adam, or Creation of Adam, that is a very holy event. That's the creation of man. It's a very important thing going on. We have important stuff going on in the swing painting down below. No, it's completely frivolous. All right, here's another quote by an author that I read about this. He said, the man's outstretched arms is electrified, not by God, but by the thrill and throb of the woman's sex falling from the sky. All right, so that is the swing. All right, a very entertaining painting, and but well crafted. All right, so I want to introduce you to Madame du Barry. She is the mistress to Louis the 15th. So she is the king's primary mistress. And so Madame du Pompadour was the primary mistress, and she died. So this is his next primary mistress. And she says to Fragonard, she says, I want to commission you to paint me 4 pictures telling the story of the progress of love for me. And so Fragonard says, okay. And so he works really hard to make these 4 paintings, and he presents them to her. So he sends them to her, and she returns them. And when he's like, why would you return them? Like, what's wrong with them? She wouldn't answer him. So there's kind of this little mystery in art history of why she did return them. And some art historians think that the style is changing. So I told you that Rococo is a very short-lived style. And the style that comes after it is neoclassical, a very serious and somber style of art. And they are looking back to the ancient Greeks and the Romans. And so she was having these 4 paintings created to decorate her new building that she's made. And the art historians think that the building is done in the neoclassical style, and these Rococo paintings didn't fit well in the neoclassical style. So we can see 3 of the paintings up on the wall in this picture. I think that might be the 4th painting. No, so we can see 3 of them, yeah. All right. I want you to know the progress of love. There are 4 paintings in this. The first painting is called The Pursuit. And if we look at the action happening down below, basically this guy, there's 3 girls hanging out, and this guy pops out of from behind these flowers and offers the one girl a flower, and she is overreacting. Right? She's really in love with him, but she's pretending not to be. She's pretending to be shocked. All right, so she's being fickle. She's playing games, like young children do. Like when you were in elementary school and you liked a girl, you were mean to her instead of nice to her, right? Because you didn't know how to play the game of love. All right, that's kind of the stuff that is going on here. Now, I said that to understand Fragonard's paintings, you need to look at the sculpture. So if you look at the sculpture that's above, we have a couple of putti that are holding back a dolphin. And again, the dolphins are the symbols of expected desire. So love is in the air, but it hasn't happened yet. The second painting is it's called Storming the Citadel. And we have a guy climbing over a wall. You can see his ladder. And she's there, but she's looking back. And he's looking. So it looks like a secret meeting that they're hiding, that they're meeting in secret, and they heard a sound and they're afraid of getting caught. And again, to understand the picture, we need to look at the sculpture. So we have 2 figures here, and we know them both. When you have a nude female in art, who would that usually be? Yes, it's Aphrodite or Venus. Yes, that's correct. And can you see what she's holding? She's holding something back from the baby. By the way, who do you think the baby is? If that's Aphrodite, it's Cupid, right? That's her son. So she's holding back what? What's his weapon that he uses? Yeah, bow and arrow. She has taken his bow and arrow away from him because he's been naughty with his bow and arrow. Again, you remember that if he shoots you with the bow and arrow, you fall in love with the first person you see, and he's been shooting people with the bow and arrow that he shouldn't be shooting. And so that's what's going on here. If these 2 people are betrothed in other relationships, Cupid should not shoot them with arrows to make them fall in love with each other. Does that make sense? All right, it is an inappropriate relationship, and he's messing things up. All right, they have good relationships, and Cupid is messing things up. All right, then if we look closely at this, now there are other titles of this painting. This painting is also called The Meeting. It's also called The Surprise. I prefer The Citadel because if you know what a citadel is, we looked at one last semester. What is a citadel? It's a fortress, right? Remember that? All right. So it's like he is climbing over the fortress to conquer what is on the other side. All right. And what's he going to conquer? He's going to conquer her. It reminds me of like when you have like storming the citadel brings to mind a siege on a castle, and they will storm over the walls with these long ladders. And you see the ladder that he has there. Also, if you think about castles at this time, castles have multiple walls. So there's an outer wall, there's an inner wall, and then there's even a further inner wall. And so when the outer wall is breached, they go back to their inner wall and defend that, etc. And those walls kind of remind me of the layers of the dresses that the women wear. There are multiple layers to the dress. All right, and then we have a nicely composed painting of this triangular composition. All right, moving on to the third painting of the series. It's called The Lover Crowned. And in this painting, it's the love is in full bloom. We have many more flowers in this painting. And then if we look at the statue there, who is that? It's Cupid, right? Cupid is sleeping. You can see his arrows right here. Let's see, there's his quiver of arrows, and he's all out of arrows, and he's sleeping. That the message here is that Cupid's job is done, and the lovers are in love, and then she has crowned him the victor. She's putting a crown of laurel leaves on his head, making him the victor. And so that could be a sign that they've had sex or that he's won her heart. And then in the last painting, it's called The Love Letter. And the two are sitting together reading old love letters. And then if we look at the statue there, she's holding her heart close to her chest. And that's a symbol of friendship. So they've gone beyond the infatuation stage of the relationship. They're beyond I know he looks pretty infatuated to me, but and they've gone beyond the lustful side of the relationship. And now they are like good friends. So these paintings were returned to him, and he was pretty upset with that. He made a bonus painting to go along with this, and this one was called Reverie. And this structure that is in the forest or in this garden is a timepiece. It's like a sundial. We have this sphere at the top, and it has this ring around it, and then the Cupid or the Pooty is on top of it holding out its arm, and wherever the sun's shadow shines on that, it tells what time it is. And the time here is 12 o'clock, and that is the quote time of the shepherds, unquote. And 12 o'clock is where shepherds would sneak away to meet up with their girlfriends in pastures, barns, bushes to make whoopee. Now, if you look at her right there, and she's sitting at the base of this very phallic sculpture, this column in the middle of nowhere. Now, I was curious when I read the story of Madame du Barry returning the paintings, and then she commissioned another artist to paint the Progress of Love, and he painted that for her, and she accepted it. So I was like, what made the other ones so good and these not? So this is the Progress of Love that she did accept. So let me just go through these paintings real quick. On the left, two young Grecian girls promise never to fall in love, and then the two Grecian girls meet a sleeping Cupid, and then the lover is crowning his mistress, and then on the right, the two lovers swear eternal affection for each other. Now, some little bit of history backstory. Madame du Barry, the one that returned the paintings, uh, when Louis the 15th died in 1774, Louis the 16th banished her from Versailles. And she was hated by everybody but Louis the 15th because she was born poor and rose up through the ranks into the wealth. And during the French Revolution, there was this episode called The Terror, and that's where you had lots of beheadings with the guillotine. And so what they were doing, what the revolutionaries were doing, anybody that was associated with the aristocracy, the king, the queen, the royal court, anybody that they were associated with, anybody that had lots of money and hobnobbed with the rich and the famous and the royal, they were all put to the guillotine, including Madame du Barry. So she was arrested and tried and found guilty and then sent to the guillotine. And it was said that on her way to the guillotine, she did not go quietly. She screamed and begged, and her screams and begging were so intense that the crowd began to feel sympathy for her, and the executioner worked more quickly than usual to stop her influence on the crowd. So she had her head cut off. All right, a couple other paintings by Fragonard. This one here called The Stolen Kiss. And we have a woman that is, you can see the open door there, and you can see other ladies on the other side. So it tells me, like, the story I would think is she's hanging out with the other ladies. She's doing maybe having some conversation. Maybe they're all like sewing stuff together, or whatever it is that ladies do at this time. And she has snuck away to have a secret liaison with this boy, or she was walking by and he jumps out from the door and steals a kiss. All right. So I'm not sure which one it is. Is this consensual or is it not consensual? All right. And then on this one right here, this one is called, oh, the title is wrong. I need to fix that. This one is called The Bolt. And he is reaching up and locking the door. And so it's another one. Is this consensual or is this not? Is she falling into his arms because she's in love with him? Or is she trying to is he like, bringing her towards him and she's trying to keep him away? It's very ambiguous. Is she trying to get out the door? Or is she also trying to lock the door? There is a chair that's been knocked over in the foreground. Let me go down here. There's a chair that's been knocked over, and that is a symbol that sex has happened. And there's also a tipped over vase, which is a symbol that sex has happened. All right. So, and like I said, these paintings of the Rococo are of poor taste. The subject matters are of poor taste. And so we have this little hiccup in art history where these famous paintings are coming from that show the poor taste of the aristocracy. And it gets worse. So here we go. All right. So I came up with this imaginary conversation between a Rococo artist and somebody looking at the artwork. And so somebody says, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're painting this. You have a sick imagination." And the Rococo artist says, "I know, right? But this is what my client wanted." I said no, but then he offered me a lot of money. And the guy says, "Truthfully, though, you're having fun painting this filth, aren't you?" And she said, "Yeah, you got me." So this is where we get into like erotic art. And whereas before, both of these artworks, you have this nude figure, and the classical Greek painting, that's tasteful, but then the Rococo painting is not. What makes one tasteful and the other not? And it could be the pose. Like here we have a reclining nude, but one is tasteful and the other is not. One has the legs together and one does not. And we have all these paintings of, lovers chasing each other around the bed. Are they playing or is this an assault? And then like there's hints at bestiality. And when we return to the image of Leda and the Swan, it gets very quite vulgar. There's Leonardo's drawing of Leda and the Swan, but the Rococo version is quite unpleasant. And so we have these vulgar paintings, and then there's also these other paintings that look sweet, but then when you read the symbolism underneath, this name of this painting is called The Broken Jug. And so on her arm, she has this jug that's been broken. Well, the broken jug is a metaphor for lost virginity. And so is the dead bird. We have lots of paintings of a young girl with a dead bird. So this whole, I talked a little bit about the debauchery that is happening. This is a reflection of that debauchery. So here's kind of like how history kind of repeats itself. When King Louis XIV was alive, he had a tight control of the aristocrats, and he was oppressive towards the aristocrats. When he died, they went nuts. It's like when parents are overprotective of their children, and then once their children grow up and move out, they go nuts, and so they make a lot of bad decisions in their life. And so they engage, the aristocrats engage in this debaucherous behavior, and then they become the oppressors of the French people. And so when the French people rose up and started this reign of terror of sending the aristocrats to the guillotine, they are revolting against this debaucherous behavior of the elites, of the aristocrats. So how does this affect artists and art? So a lot of artists, start to think, well, maybe I should start making changes in my life, because the people are arresting anybody that's associated with the aristocrats. And that includes the artists that were doing paintings for them and artists that talked with them in their salons. And so some of them moved away. A couple of them joined the revolution, and many of them just stopped painting. Like Fragonard, he stopped painting. Right. So that's what's going on with like the core of Rococo. But there's a couple other things going on during the Rococo in art that I need to discuss. So, has anybody ever taken statistics and seen a chart like this? What this basically says is that, when you do a chart like this, all your points of data kind of line up and show a trend. And that would be the other Rococo artists. But every once in a while, you have this one point of data that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't fit with everything else. And that's called an outlier. And so one of our artists, is classified as a Rococo artist, but he doesn't really look like Rococo. So Chardin doesn't really fit with Rococo. He doesn't really fit with neoclassicism, which I'm going to talk about soon. He doesn't really fit with Enlightenment that is going on at the same time. He's just kind of his own guy, but he's classified as Rococo. And then here's one of his paintings. All right, does this look like Rococo to you? No, it doesn't. What about this does not look Rococo? Colors, right. The colors are very muted. They're not these bright floral and pastel colors of the Rococo. What else makes it not Rococo? I don't remember any Rococo still lifes. And the Rococo had mostly themes of love. Is this a theme of love in this one? All right. Now, do we have anybody here that has OCD tendencies? All right. What about this painting bothers you? Yes, right. It's the knife. All right. The knife hanging off the edge of the table. Why does that bother you? Right. It's about to fall off. All right. And this knife happens in every one of it. You can see it there. You can see it there. It is a common trait in Chardin paintings. All right. This knife is a metaphor for death, right? That your life is so close to death that it could be snuffed out at any time, just like a knife falling off of a table. All right, this painting is called the ray. It has a manta ray fish that is being gutted. Lots of fish on the table. A cat reacting to the fish. Right. And I think they did know how what dolphins look like. It was just the style of the sculpture. It's a stylized dolphin, and also I think that those 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 sculptures are a reference to ancient sculptures, and they didn't know what dolphins look like. So, all right. So he did lots of still lifes, but he also did these paintings like this right here. And like, so I'm going to show you these 3 or 4 paintings right here, all by Chardin. And what would you call these paintings? Genre, right. Everyday people doing everyday things. Very far away from Rococo. There's no theme of love. There's not people having secret meetings and no insinuation of sex at all in these paintings. All right. And then also, I want you to look at very typical of his paintings. Uh, if you look at what she's doing and then where she's looking. All right, so she's maybe cleaning, or she's maybe preparing dinner, or for something like that. And then here she's preparing dinner, but look at where she's looking. All right, so another common trait of Chardin is that he often shows a maid at her work, and then she's stopped for a second, and she's like deep in thought. All right, and then this lady right here is teaching her children how to say grace. And then these 2 boys right here, this was a common toy at that time, and that toy involves a straw and soapy water. And the entertaining game that they play is blowing bubbles. All right, so think about the toys that you had as a kid, and think about, even though like some of my toys were pretty crappy, they were certainly better than a straw and a dish of soapy water. Again, but these bubbles are a symbol of death. And it was a common in like so in Dutch society. Uh, it was seen man was seen as a bubble, popular theme in Dutch painting, and it's an allegory of the fragility of life. The bubble will break and then life will end. All right, I got another artist. His name is Greuze. He also does not fit in with Rococo. He's classified as a Rococo artist, but he doesn't quite fit in with any of these uh, genres, or these categories going on at the time of the late 18th century. And his famous painting is The Village Bride. What would you call this painting? Genre, yeah. This is a rural town wedding. We got family and kids and barnyard animals hanging out. All right, so let me explain kind of what's going on. This woman in white is the bride. And if you look at her arm, it is, connected to him. All right, so they are getting married. The groom is giving money to his father-in-law as a dowry. And crying on the bride's shoulder is her little sister. She and her little sister are best friends. She's moving off, and so they're going to miss each other deeply. The mom is down here and she is giving advice. Over here behind the dad is the older sister. And then look at how she's looking at what's going on. She is jealous that she is not married yet and that her younger sister is getting married. And then this guy in the black is an attorney, making sure that everything is legal here. And compositionally, this has, oh, I need to remove all that. But compositionally, this has a nice curve to it to help guide the eye around. So the father bride has just handed the son-in-law his dowry. The dowry is a gift from the bride's family to the groom. And the bride's older sister is jealous. All right, so another painting by Greuze is we have this family squabble. The son, excuse me, the son and the father are fighting, and the rest of the family is trying to stop them from fighting. And basically, it looks like to me the son is saying, "F off, I'm out of here, see you later," and the old man is saying, "I'll get you," and that's what's going on here. Later on, the father becomes very ill, and so the family is all around him. Are we close to leaving? Yeah. And then he comes. The son comes back. The father is dead, and he feels awful that he has missed out on his father's last few days. We will stop there, and we will do Hogarth tomorrow.